There isn't really one accomplishment that I can say I'm more proud of this than I am of that. But as an undergraduate, getting my degree was an amazing accomplishment. It was a very long journey for me. And then to have faculty members who nominated me most outstanding graduating senior of my class, that was amazing. And they only give 2 awards every graduating year at SJSU, one for the BS degree and one for the BA degree. And so to be awarded that was absolutely amazing, because it meant that for the first time that I had been in academia, my professors stood up and said, "We believe in you. We're going to nominate you and we believe in you." And I think that that was pivotal for me going into the sciences, especially becoming a neurologist, that to know that there were people behind me that mattered in my education, besides my family, that said, "We're going to endorse you. We're going to put our stamp of approval on you."
I was quite proud to finish my doctorate in molecular biology, because going through a doctoral program are many stages and hurdles and takes quite a bit of perseverance, etc. And so finishing that was a day of pride, I guess, for me.
Well, one of the big accomplishments was earning my PhD in biochemistry as a single mom with 4 kids.
My biggest accomplishment was that when I worked for NASA, we did a live webcast of a total solar eclipse from Africa, Zambia, Africa, and it was quite an accomplishment to put all of that together. I was in charge of all the NASA end of it and worked with the Exploratorium and NASA, and then taking everything over into Africa and actually helped to lead the programs and the webcasts and stuff like that over there. So it was really exciting thing to do. It was kind of cutting edge at the time. Now webcasting and talking through like Skype or something is much more common, but at that time it was kind of more of a new and innovative thing, and I think that was one of the big career accomplishments that I had.
The biggest accomplishments were the growth in the people that I worked with. You know, if I could aid them in getting them to their goals. Many people I worked with now are CEOs of their own companies, or division heads of their own, or CFOs of major companies, and it makes me feel really proud.
I think my most proudest accomplishment is really balancing my career with my family, because it's really challenging. It changes all the time. It changes as your children get older, but it also changes as your career changes.
Well, both my parents were very supportive of everything that my brothers and sisters and I did, and they encouraged us that we could do anything we wanted to do.
So I think in terms of role models, you know, I think many people have this similar, is their parents, and for me specifically my mother. She worked full-time, she had 6 children, she was incredibly bright, and she really just taught me work ethic, working hard, always being honest. And I really wanted to emulate her and make her proud. As I became aware of more people in their professions, you know, I really liked Dr. Sally Ride, the first woman astronaut. Indira Gandhi was the first female prime minister of the subcontinent of India. Margaret Thatcher, I really admired. She was a really gutsy lady in the United Kingdom. So those were people that I looked up to and tried to read as many biographies as I could. In terms of female mentors, you know, I've had so many mentors along the way, male and female. Mentorship is really a form of just chemistry. And so I was lucky to have chemistry with so many people. So through the 28 years and even now, I have many, many mentors.
I decided that I liked science when I was like in 4th grade. So I started out, when I went to college, I started out as a math major, and then I was taking chemistry and I liked that, and then I was exposed to biochem, and I've loved that ever since, so that's what I stuck with.
You know, my interest in STEM started early when the first personal computers were coming out, and we were lucky enough to get one at home. We didn't have a monitor, but we got the keyboard and a cassette tape for storage, and it was just the thrill of having a machine. I wrote a computer game and having other people play it and enjoy it. Now in those days we didn't have the internet, so I couldn't share it. you had to come over to my house to use it. And that just started something inside of me of people seeing what you created and enjoying it. And then as I progressed at IBM and at HP, seeing customers, real life customers at brand names that you'd recognize, changing their work life to make it more productive, there's no better feeling. And so I think that's what got me interested and kept me interested in STEM.
My advice to students, especially female students who are entering this career, is network. Use every modality possible to network.
For me, I want everyone to be able to have the opportunity to pursue what they want to do, because I think that that's just a luxury that everyone should be afforded. So if you feel passionate about, that type of seaweed, or, maybe more broadly microscope work, or computer science, or whatever it is, even if it's not in a STEM field, I think that one should have the opportunity to pursue it and to have a career in what makes you happy and what you're passionate about. And so it's just realizing you can do anything you want to do. It's going to take a lot of work. If you're willing to do the work, you can probably have a path there. So when I even work with little fourth graders, I guess what I want to instill in them is a sense of, things might be challenging, but we need to give them the skills to be able to surmount these challenges and not give up if it's something that makes them, happy, and if it's something that's constructive for them. Sometimes I see kids not knowing what they want to do at all. So learning doesn't inspire them. They're not inspired to learn things. And that's where I start to feel sad, when somewhere we've failed kids to the extent that they don't feel pleasure in learning. And there's where sometimes I'm at a loss as to what to do. How do we really inspire kids who should be these sponges, they're curious, they have energy, they want to go and explore and learn? Where do we take that out of them? Because if you go to a third grade group of kids, we see that almost across the board. And as they get older and older and older, they lose that sense of curiosity and energy and engagement with their environment and the world. And I guess where my passion really is to catch kids now, I guess, early enough so that they hopefully don't lose that sense of curiosity and excitement.
I think you have to find people that you can rely on, that can help you, fellow students and faculty and mentors.
I think it's important that women in the STEM, whether it's the sciences, whether it's technology, whether it's engineering, whether it's mathematics, whether it's computer science, biology, chemistry, I think it's important that we become inclusive. In other words, that we support one another, and then we bring the men into our group. We've done it the other way so often. In other words, men have their group and we try to join it. I think that what we need to do is substantiate our networks and our groups, and then invite the men in.
I think having that group of people around you saying that you can do it, whether it be men or women, just that group that that has your back and is advocating for you, that's important. Getting over the self-doubt. I mean, STEM careers, I think in general, can be quite competitive. You feel competition with your colleagues. You feel sometimes there just isn't room for self-doubt, and it's just a matter of putting that self-doubt aside, figuring out how you can feel confident in whatever you need to do. So for me, I over-prepare for things when I can. I've gotten so busy lately, sometimes I can't do the amount of preparation that I want to do. But for me, being over-prepared for something and thinking through scenarios and that's how I feel empowered, is just mentally running through a situation over and over and over and thinking about what can go wrong and how we can get around these things that can go wrong. And that's where I feel I can empower myself. So I think it's just figuring out how you can feel empowered in a situation, and you put your self-doubt aside and just say, I can do this, and I'm here, and I'm going to do it. In all honesty, I think we do lose a lot of women when they decide to have families, etc. In that I don't know how you manage all the expectations. I think that there's still an issue with employers also, seeing a woman of childbearing age and thinking, well, you know, she might have to let up in the near future because she will decide to have kids. And I think that that's a terrible thing, but I think that it's a reality that still exists and that we need to be aware of.
I think that it can be a lot of different things. So it can stem from early education, where women aren't always encouraged to excel in science and math, or as people grow up and they have different pressures on their life, then maybe it's not cool to be the math or science person.
I think there's a low number of women in STEM. I think it's both a supply and a demand problem, to be quite honest. On the supply side, I think women, the number one thing women like me will say is we were exposed to STEM early. So many young women I know never really get exposed to computers, or they never really understand how to program it. They might see a Mac at home, or they have a iPad, but they use one, but they don't understand the joy and beauty of creating something that would run on it. So I think the supply side, getting younger women exposed to it at an early age and finding those that get the excitement like I did. And then on the demand side, I think that, well, I do know, like in computing, it's male dominated. So it's on average, it's 75% male and 25% female. Although some of those early engineering teams, you'll be on a team with 90% men and you're the only female. Sometimes when people recruit, they don't mean to, but they look for people that look and feel like themselves. And so I think on the demand side, we have to make different processes in terms of hiring to make sure we look in the right places for where the women are, and also have women on the interview team so we don't inadvertently not choose a woman because she just didn't make us feel as comfortable as the men did.
I think that balancing is a day-by-day process, just like getting up and brushing your teeth, brushing your hair. You do that every day. So every day take an assessment of how you are balancing your private, yourself, and your career.
It's difficult. I have a very understanding husband who is, he works as much as I do, you know, hours that are as long as mine. But the thought of starting a family and trying to get more balance, it's really difficult. And I don't know how some women do what they do.
It just involves making priorities and making time for people that are important to you.
It can be really tough sometimes. I have 2 kids, and so balancing work and life can sometimes be challenging when your kids get sick and you're trying to manage. Luckily, I'm pretty fortunate that my husband also tries to fill in sometimes too, so that I'm very fortunate in that way. But it is definitely a challenge because you have things that you have to accomplish at work and do at work, but then if your child is sick, you want to make sure they're okay, and if you need to go back and forth. So it can be definitely a challenge, and then making sure that I feel they're getting everything they need, like piano lessons or getting to karate lessons or whatever it is. So, you know, trying to balance the work and life, and you get home, you're tired from work, but it's like, oh, it's time for homework, you know? So there is definitely a challenge to that, and I would definitely say, you know, it's just part of being, you know, being a parent. So, you know, probably For women, it's a little bit more of a challenge because as the mom, you just automatically are right there and doing everything. And so sometimes it's a little challenging to let some of that go and make sure my husband's doing it too. But he does participate, which is really great. So it helps to alleviate some of that stress that comes along with that.
Many women do. And so yes, I've been told you can't have it all at once. So many women, are delaying childbirth. They're deciding not to have kids, etc. And I think all the above choices are becoming more and more acceptable, but it's a challenge.
Yes, women can have it all, just like men can have it all. Okay. The difference is, if you're going to have a family, you can't have it all at once. And you have to determine what your career is going to look like. And I think that as women, sometimes we're so linear in our path towards our career that actually is detrimental to us.
All is going to depend on what women define it as. Defining it all, you might not have it all the time. You might have parts of it along your career. There might be those wonderful moments where you say, this is good, but there's going to be the dark side too, where you're really struggling. So again, you have to be very realistic. I think it's idealistic to think you can have it all, but you define that all. And that might be different at different stages of your career.
So I think women in STEM, clearly, I hope that one day we get to 50% women and 50% men in STEM. And the reason I'm passionate about that is because those that use the technology should mirror those that create the technology. And the field is just too exciting and fun to be kind of closed off to women. So I really hope that it's 50-50 as soon as 2020. However, I think that goal is going to be very, very tough to reach.
I think it's going to look very interdisciplinary. I think even now with what I see in my field of chemical education, we work with the social sciences and cognitive psychology, trying to understand how students learn chemistry, using different pedagogies in the classroom. If I was in my field, it would be working probably with engineers, chemists, physicists, very much in instrumentation. It's very much a partnership. It's global. It changes fast. So the content knowledge that you learn today probably is going to be different tomorrow. So you have to have the skills and be able to go with the flow.
Oh no, you don't want to know this? What song? You're not going to believe this. Okay. The Black Eyed Peas, Let's Get the Party Started.
So I listened to AC/DC Thunderstruck over and over and over. So that song has motivated me on many occasions.